The new leaf days were growing warmer as the sun stretched out across the beaches of Branch Clan. Although the vibrant green leaves of the few large trees along the beach had not yet reached the emerald brilliancy that signaled the arrival of Greenleaf, it was clear the season was almost upon them. There was not a trace of the cool touches of Bareleaf left, especially not along the coast where the caves were the same warm temperature year-round. Crowfeather sighed and brushed his tail across the sands, lost in thought as he stared out at the waves. He was well aware of the passing days, and the way the weather was warmer, and the way that his pelt twitched and itched to be back in the shadows of the forest. The caves were dark and easy to rest in their own way, too, but they weren't the dappled sunlight and familiar coolness of the forest floor that he had grown used to. And yet, since he had arrived in Branch Clan, Crowfeather hadn't expected things to turn out to be so peaceful. Branch Star had threatened to forcefully drag Crowfeather down to the beach with the might of his Branch Clan warriors behind him if Crowfeather didn't come willingly, after all. Crowfeather sighed and lashed his tail again. Out of everyone in Moss Clan, Crowfeather could probably understand that confusing threat the best. Branch Star was simply trying to do what he thought was the best, and once Branch Star had made up his mind on something, he would follow through with every ounce of strength he had. And if he had gotten it into his head that Branch Clan was a safer place for Crowfeather to be than Moss Clan, then Branch Star would have seen nothing wrong with using any means to justify the goal of getting Crowfeather here. But Branch Star had still given Crowfeather a choice. Stay for the season of New Leaf, and then he could go, if Crowfeather wanted to go back to Moss Clan and the greenery and the leaves that they lived in. And when Crowfeather had first arrived, that hadn't seemed like such a difficult choice to make at all. And yet now... "I do still miss eating a proper frog, though," Crowfeather murmured, narrowing his eyes. Some part of his pelt itched with annoyance. Making a choice shouldn't be this hard. He was a warrior, after all. He should go where his loyalty told him to. And that was... Crowfeather's ears perked up at an unusual splashing sound. Frowning, he tilted his head to one side and felt his hunting skills take over. During his time at the beach, Seafeather had taught him a tremendous amount about hunting for fish and all the different noises that they made, but this sounded different, and he could almost just hear something. With a terrified yowl, Crowfeather launched himself to his feet and dashed towards the water, terror flooding him. He was certain now. Under the soft splashing and the ever-present sound of the waves had been a terrified, weak kit's cry for help. "Quail-Eye, out of my way!" Branch Star shouldered his deputy aside and leaned down over Shellkit, who was trembling and continually coughing up salty water as Bearglow pressed his paws hard against the kit's chest. Quail-Eye glanced between his clan leader and the tiny kit with wide eyes, his shoulders hunched. "But I need to know how Shellkit is." "Then be patient," Branch Star snapped, his eyes flashing. Quail-Eye stared back with wide, hurt eyes, and Branch Star sighed, forcing his fur on his back to lay flat, and doing his best to soften his tone, despite the strain he was under. "He is my son, and he nearly drowned. That's terrifying. I need to be near him right now, Quail-Eye." Branch Star turned back to the small kit, his entire body taut, and Quail-Eye remained where he was behind him, staring at Shellkit with an expression of shock and an inner pain no one present seemed to notice. "How is he?" Branch Star meowed, his voice husky with emotion. Only a short time ago he had watched Wildpaw flail on the sands, her body nearly burned apart by the snake venom that had flooded her. And now here he was, staring at the tiny, thin form of Shellkit trembling before him, the kit's thick fur plastered flat against his body from the ocean waters. Bearglow looked up from the kit, his eyes flashing as he glanced at Branch Star. "He'll live, as long as the water hasn't settled into his lungs and will give him a sickness. For now he'll be yet another member of my medicine den, it seems." His voice was nearly expressionless, but as everyone stared at Shellkit, he shot Branch Star another calculating glance before continuing. "It is a good thing Crowfeather arrived when he did. Another moment longer and Shellkit may have been washed out to the sea." Branch Star trembled visibly and glanced up at Crowfeather, who was standing with a wide-eyed sea whisper beside him. Slowly, Branch Star pulled himself away from Shellkit and walked towards Crowfeather, bowing his head in a gesture of gratitude that made Crowfeather's fur feel hot. "Thank you, brother." Branch Star meowed, his voice tight with emotion. Crowfeather shifted from foot to foot in the sands, embarrassment flooding his pelt. Just what any loyal warrior would do," Crowfeather meowed back, then flinched at his choice of words. Branch Star looked up, his eyes bright and pleased, then turned back to help Bearglow move Shellkit into the medicine den. "You saved Shellkit's life," Sea Whisper purred softly as the crowd of cats around them began to disappear. She stared up at Crowfeather with bright eyes, a gentle pride radiating from her body. Crowfeather nuzzled her gently, then glanced away at the waves, his body drooping with exhaustion from the recent events and emotions. "Yes, it did make me wonder how Redkit and Robinkit are doing back at Moss Clan. I hadn't realized just how much I missed them." Crowfeather sighed and leaned against Sea Whisper as he spoke, taking comfort in her presence and watching the waves. With his attention on the water, he missed the brief, pained look of grief that came over Sea Whisper's face before she sighed and joined him in watching the waves. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Warrior Cats Challenge here in Sims 3. And today we are still at the beaches of Branch Clan, and they have just dealt with a very terrifying event that has happened when little Shellkit, who was playing along the waves, kind of splashing at some of the minnows that were in the water, almost got washed out to sea. And that was actually a random event that the clan rolled today, because the more kits we have in each clan, the more the risk goes up, the more we might attract predators or things might happen to those kits. And it seems like Shellkit, with his hyper little excited self, got too close to the water, somehow slipped the supervision of Dawnstep and all of the other potential future queens and clan cats. And if Crowfeather hadn't come in time, then it seems like we would have lost little Shellkit. He would have been washed away to the sea. So that move has definitely gained Crowfeather a lot of support and a lot of fans from inside of Branch Clan. And it also means that we're going to have to keep an eye on Shellkit. So he's actually been put into the nursery so that he can have a little bit of time to recover and stay with his sister Sandkit. Sandkit is just kind of naturally a slightly weaker kit, but she is doing much better lately, so she should be okay. And Trout Shadow is catching anchovy, so they're doing just fine. Well, other than the fact that we are a little worried because Shellkit has a chance that he might have a bit of a cold. The water may have settled into his lungs, and that leaves me with the question of going, I wonder what in the medicine cat den could be used for Branch Clan medicine cats to cure cats of things like colds, or what happens when a cat does almost drown. It sounds like they should need something to kind of bring their health back up. And I think that thing is definitely like rodents, because rodents really boost a cat's health. So I wonder if Bearglow might demand people go get rodents. What's going on? Goofing around? Oh my goodness, I think goofing around here implies that he and Nightfrost are somehow teasing Dawnstep. Dawnstep, what are you doing? She wants to sniff Bearglow. I think we'll go ahead and let her sniff Bearglow, because she's going to have to ask. I think that this would be her asking, like, what could be done for Shellkit, since he almost drowned and she was very worried about that. So I think she's coming over to ask Bearglow what can be done, and he's going to jokingly, like, because he's goofing around and he's kind of a bit of a jerk to her, he's going to tell her, well, maybe if you went and caught a rodent, I'd be able to help your son a little bit better. And I think Nightfrost would hear that, and she would be a little bit like, so she would go and try to hunt down a rodent. So Nightfrost is probably about to head out, because she would hear that. Like, she would not do anything when Bearglow teases Dawnstep, but she would try to help out because she is a fellow queen. She knows how scary it can be to have kits that something almost happens to. And so Dawnstep might be being a bit teased right now, and Bearglow might actually be harassing her a bit. So we're actually going to come over and we'll lower their relationship. Where is Bearglow? They don't even have much of a relationship. There we go. So I'll lower it as the tiny bit that they had. Dawnstep still dislikes Bearglow. So we'll leave it at that. And she does want to playfully chase Crowfeather. So I'll interpret that as her wanting to potentially talk to Crowfeather and say thank you for rescuing her kit. And Crowfeather is actually off. It looks like, oh, Crowfeather is still sitting over by Sea Whisper. So we kind of have to see where the cats are and explain what's going on real quick. And then we will move on to seeing things done for the day. All right. Well, look at that. And he does want to socialize with Dawnstep. So we'll send Dawnstep over here because she might think like maybe she could ask Crowfeather for help catching a rodent to bring Shellkit's health up a little bit. So we'll bring them over here and then we'll stop you from trying to catch that. And let's see. So also, yeah, Shellkit and Sandkit. Sandkit is just naturally a little bit of a weaker kit, but it doesn't really, other than like a health modifier against her, it doesn't really affect her too much. Now Shellkit, he might have a cold or he might have water in the lungs and he needs a rodent to kind of boost his health. But I would love to hear ideas from you guys on other things that could be used to cure Shellkit. So I really love the ideas you guys have, and we've never really had a cat almost drown before. So we kind of need a bit of a perk to figure out like, okay, if they almost drowned and they're a bit chilled, and flame fruit is kind of rare, so that one, will of the wisp, because it's kind of like a little fiery thing. Are there things like fireflies? So if you guys want to open up the link in the video description, and it will take you to our warrior cats documents, and then look at all of the various items that you can collect from the links there, then maybe we can start coming up with some ideas of what we could collect in Sims 3 to help little Shellkit recover. But for now, just the tried and true eating a hearty fat mouse to help a kit recover their health should hopefully help. So I have a feeling that Dawnstep might ask Crowfeather for his assistance in that, and she might even go ask Trout Shadow, because Trout Shadow, you know, he's such a flirty cat, but some of the queens, I think that all of the females are a little bit kind to Trout Shadow. They don't want to be too kind to him, but they do think maybe he can be relied on. If he's such a flirt, maybe you can depend on him and make him back his words up with some actions. So that's kind of where they're at. And Wildpaw is still over here, and Wildpaw is still recovering from being bitten by the snake, and she's not really going to be back on her feet 100% until Saturday, and she is going to have a bit of a modifier where her health has been weakened. But I have figured it out thanks to your guys' amazing suggestions, and little Wildpaw here, her body was so weakened by the snake that she fought and the venom that got in her that she actually has lost a ton of her hunting skills. She has to kind of retrain her muscles and retrain her body. And thanks to your guys' advice on looking at the NRAS mod, I was able to figure out how to adjust the levels that the cats have for their skills, which is so exciting. That's going to offer so much story possibility moving forward. So Wildpaw has actually, because she was so weakened by the venom, gone from skill level 7 to level 3. And she was just about to level up to level 8. And I think that's just going to really set her back. Unless you're at least level 5, you can't become a warrior. So she's really very discouraged and very weak, and I wonder if she would still want to fight that fox. She desperately wants to prove herself now, and now she's angry at the world and wants to take it out on something. So I wonder if she would still go out and try to fight that fox. But that's what's going on over there. And then just real quickly to point out what's going on over here, we actually have a Misty Pond who feels terrible about what happened to little Shellkit, and she's worried about the kits and just in a really interesting mood lately where she wants to help Dawnstep out. I think she's still thinking she has her good days and her bad days, and on her good days she really does want to socialize with everybody in the clan. She wants to get to know everybody, and she for some reason is really attracted to Dawnstep. Maybe it's Dawnstep's attitude, who knows, but she wants to bring Dawnstep a gift. So she's trying to collect something that she can give Dawnstep as a gift. And Trout Shadow is always kind of chasing after any of the stray females, one of the unassociated females. And so I think he has come over and he's actually trying to gather something up. A shark! If I had caught that and made the generator by now, Trout Shadow, then I would have done something about that. But I think Trout Shadow, Luminous Salamander, dang. I think Trout Shadow is trying mostly to impress Misty Pond, but also he wants to improve his hunting skills. So he's spending a little bit of time fishing, and pretty soon Sea Whisper might hit him up and ask for that frog. And he also happens to have a Wom Rat, so we might even have Dawnstep like come up and talk to Trout Shadow and find out that he has the rodent. So Trout Shadow has the potential to become very, very popular right now. Woo, Trout Shadow just improved his hunting skill too. He's a really good hunter when he puts his mind to it. But Trout Shadow has the potential to become extremely popular among the queens at the moment because he not only has the frog, but he has the rodent. So Sea Whisper could be very happy to trade him and get a frog to give to Crowfeather and increase their relationship. And he has the Wom Rat that could help Shellkit. So everything is kind of coming together like that. Meanwhile, at Bearglow's off to groom Oh, Bear Glow's off to groom Night Frost. I've noticed the cats have to come over here in order to interact like that, and it's kind of cute. And Night Frost wants to go fishing, and I think she might quietly be murmuring at Bear Glow about, like, it's not polite to tease about a kit's life being in danger. Let's see, a blowfish. Jeez, Trout Shadow is really on fire right now. All right, so enough chit-chattering. Let's settle in and see what the cats are up to. It seems like Crowfeather doesn't really want to leave Sea Whisper's side. To the point where he's just gonna pee like right there, I guess. And he's happy because he's socialized with her. And I think that socialized with Dawnstep. And I think Dawnstep, go ahead and maybe pounce for just a second. No, she wants to playfully chase. I don't think anything else will work. So we'll interpret this playful chase as showing her, Misty Pun, if I had the random fish generator set so that I could determine whether or not catching crocodiles is a dangerous thing, I would totally do that. But anyway, and now Misty Pun's just randomly freaked out. So maybe it went from a good day to a bad day. And maybe she caught something she can give. What would she give? I think she would give this koi fish to Dawnstep because she would be like, oh, it's orange like you. But she's startled right now. And we'll interpret this playful chasing as Dawnstep trying to show Crowfeather where he could potentially do some hunting for a rodent. And I feel like Crowfeather would have an odd desire to help out because he did help Shellkit's life. And technically, he believes Shellkit is like related to him because it's his brother's kit, right? Right? All right. And Sea Whisper, you're throwing a wrench in my plans. You're throwing such a huge wrench in my plans because now I have to roll to see if you're sick or not. Bear Glow, may I speak with you? Sea Whisper's voice was soft as she walked into the cave of the medicine den, her expression slightly pained. Bear Glow glanced up from the pile of starfish and spiders he was sorting, his tail twitching once in curiosity as she approached. Sea Whisper lowered her head and stepped forward, glancing at the sleeping form of Wildpaw before continuing. I'm expecting kids, she whispered, her voice echoing against the dark stones. Oh? Bear Glow asked, surprise in his tone. He tilted his head and narrowed his eyes, his long, furry white tail sliding against the stones as he put the pieces together. With Crowfeather, no less. Well, Bear Glow struggled to suppress a sneer. I suppose that's one way to keep him from going back to Moss Clan. No, that isn't... Sea Whisper gasped, then turned away as another wave of pain hit her. That isn't what I wanted, and I don't know if he'll still stay. Sea Whisper lowered her gaze, her shoulders hunched in pain. And I have not told him yet. I'm not sure when the time is right, and now I don't feel so well. I'm worried something is wrong with the kits. Sea Whisper let out a soft hiss as another wave of pain hit her, and Bear Glow leaned forward to sniff the expectant queen. You're right. Something is not right, the medicine cat muttered, his voice distant. Sea Whisper and Crowfeather's problems were no matter of his, and he couldn't yet think of a way to use this in his struggle against Branch Star. This matter was no concern of his, beyond what it would be for any medicine cat. I think you may lose the kits, Sea Whisper, unless we treat you immediately. Bear Glow paused, an icy coolness in his tone. Unless, perhaps, you think that may be for the best. Then Crowfeather wouldn't feel obligated to stay, and he would still have a choice. Or, if he goes, your kits won't suffer the... Bear Glow curled his lip, a hot flash of anger in his eyes. The burden of being half-clan. Sea Whisper stared up at Bear Glow with wide eyes, her body trembling. No! I want to do my best for these kits. Even if I don't. Even if their future may be difficult. Please, help me, Bear Glow. Alright, you guys, well, these cats and the random generators are keeping me on my toes. So, Sea Whisper did roll for an illness, and she rolled for a pretty severe one. So, it looks like she's having a very difficult pregnancy and actually has the risk of losing all of her kits. However, she came to Bear Glow, and he was able to help her out with a few things. So, as long as she has fairy damsels, and she actually just finished eating one because she had one in her inventory and pulling her hunger up, I missed it, because I thought I was recording. Sorry about that, you guys. But as long as she eats fairy damselfish, then she'll be able to keep her kits and keep the pregnancy going. And even though it's a very difficult pregnancy and she'll still have quite a risk with giving birth, so she'll still have a much higher risk of potentially dying, and she'll have a much higher risk of losing the kits because each kit will have a 50-50 chance instead of the normal, like, 80% chance of surviving. As long as she eats fairy damsels, then she'll be able to potentially give that kit at least a 50-50 chance. So the fairy damselfish are the key. The cats can have up to 4 kits in Sims 3, so she'll probably want to eat at least 4. And so she's kind of got this secret pressure now to go and to try, even though she's a pregnant queen, so now she can't do any hunting because she's got a very delicate pregnancy. She's got a lot of pressure right now to gather up as many fairy damselfish as possible, because each one she eats will help her kits potentially survive at least until birth. So each one gives her kit a 50-50% chance of surviving, but if she only eats one and has 3 kits, then those 2 kits don't get to survive. So it's very dramatic, but it is what it is in the wildcat world, and she does have the rainbow shells, so there is that. I wonder, do you think the rainbow snails should count? Because they do cure kits of almost any disease, but a kit who may have not survived the pregnancy, that's a whole nother question. So, yep, actually, so I guess as long as she has the rainbow snails, then she has the 50-50 chance if she eats the damselfish. So the kit will at least survive to birth. And then if it survives birth, even if it's 50-50, as long as we have the rainbow snails, then the kits may survive. So Sea Whisper's really lucky because she is so good at catching rare fish, but now she doesn't have the ability to hunt because she has to take care of her pregnancy. So yeah, a lot of pressure for her. All right, enough dilly-dallying, enough just muttering to myself about this. It's just interesting turns of events, because dangerous pregnancies and kits almost drowning are things we've not dealt with before. And Bearglow is exhausted. He's going back to sleep. So Sea Whisper has now eaten 2 fairy damselfish. I wonder if any other cats in the clan happen to have some damselfish on them. And I wonder if Sea Whisper would feel comfortable enough to ask for help, to say, I need these fairy damselfish for my kits. And there's Sandkit walking around. And there's Branch Star, who still has the fleas that aren't cured yet. And now he wants to like go visit a beach. Oh my gosh. And he wants to check on Shellkit, and he wants to give like Moonpaw a gift. And I think he would have just come over here and noticed that like half of the prey in the prey pile, he doesn't have anything in his inventory because he gave everything to Bearglow. He would have noticed that the prey pile is empty. So I think Branch Star, let's have him come over. I think it would be one of those rare times that he would actually actively try to train with Moonpaw, because he's trying to groom Moonpaw, if you guys remember, into being a good warrior and keep control of her that way. But you know, the Bearglow is going to start putting a little pressure on having his apprentice, and the belief is, and Trout Shadow's getting a little close to Misty Paw there. The belief is that Moonpaw, because she has a prophecy on her, should be the apprentice of Bearglow. So it's been pretty tense that way. All right, and we have an anchovy, a shark. And that's all we have that we're really going to give as offerings from Trout Shadow. But Sea Whisper, who's eating her second fairy damselfish now, does have a crayfish, a salmon, and a couple alley catfish that she'll be able to take care of. And she's grooming herself. And we might have her come over and talk with Crowfeather, who has no idea what's going on. And he might help out with some of the hunting. But really, he's kind of kept everything that he's hunting because he's keeping it for Moss Clan's sake, and he's still allowed to do that. And dang it, Quilleye! Quilleye! Oh, okay, give me just a second. Hopefully this won't take long. Okay, thankfully Quilleye is fine. He's just fussy, so he needs to eat too, which means he probably needs to do some hunting, and he wants to work on his hunting skill. Come on, cats! Pick up the pace. You guys are all being distracted by things. And Otterslip, you too. That's what I get for not letting the prey pile get full. Jeez Louise. All right, and Otterslip is also fine. I rolled for Analyst for her too, and now I'm just learning my lesson at making sure all of the cats have enough food. I think Stonepaw is going to notice that everybody, there seems to be something going on with pretty much everyone, and he's going to be a little concerned. And there's just a colorful feather on the floor. So do we have any stones around here? I think that he would use this as a sign. No, Bearglow's gathered up all of these stones. Yeah, I think he would actually use this as a sign that he's going to head out and maybe go up to the temple by himself, because there's a lot of stones over here. So he's going to come up here and gather up stones because as the stone spirits, like the stone spirits friend, Stonepaw actually has the ability to get a whole bunch of fish from Slate. And the fact that cats have been so busy that they're starting to get sick from not enough food is not something that really happens in Branch Clan. So Stonepaw, help us stabilize this chaos and take care of everybody. And for crying out loud, you guys, don't do that again. Look at everybody like descend upon the prey pile. I think that Crowfeather might be feeling a little bit guilty. Oh, Groom Sea Whisper! He might be feeling a little bit guilty about the way that he ends up just kind of eating everything all of the time, and he might want to actually come over here. We'll send Sea Whisper over here, especially if Sea Whisper asks for some help getting more fish. I wonder if this is where Crowfeather is really going to have to start feeling a little bit of conflicted loyalty. He's been allowed to keep all of the fish he gathers for the clan he's part of, in his head or his heart, which is Moss Clan, but here, everybody here in Branch Clan who has been fairly decent to him, they need some help. So what is he gonna do? And then what are you doing over here? What are you doing over here, Stonepaw? All right, I thought there was a dog and it was just the mailbox, and I was like, not my little Stonepaw. He doesn't have any kids, so nobody would carry on the stone spirit powers until Slate rescued another kit from death. All right, so we'll send him out in just a second. What is that? Is that an assassin beetle? It better not be. No, it's a cockroach. I'm pretty sure that's a cockroach, so it should be okay. Don't let it be an assassin beetle, Stonepaw. You guys have been a little bit too active with the illnesses already today. All right, and I'm going to actually drag Slate over here. And he's not best friends yet with Stonepaw, so he can't just pick up the stones without being told when they're in the same area. So Stonepaw needs to nuzzle him and mark him for each time that they're supposed to pick something up. Yeah, it was a cockroach. Okay, so we don't have to worry about it being an assassin beetle and potentially having that be dangerous. All right, and then friendly. So we'll sniff him. I see 1 stone, 2 stone, 3 stone, 4 stone. We'll sniff him and pick up these stones, and then we can actually get rid of the stones in exchange for all of those fish that Slate has been catching. So Stonepaw, you're being wonderful that way. But then we also have to think about getting rid of Branch Star's fleas. And to do that, we need a rodent. All right, and I think Branch Star. All right, you good? Let's bring you out. And while your son is collecting up fish from one resource, I think Branch Star would actually be... Yeah, because somebody wants to practice her hunting and she wants to scratch on the cat condo. There we go. And Crowfeather... Be pounced on. No, Crowfeather. Okay, well, actually, Sea Whisper wants to take a nap. We'll let her... Well, Sea Whisper, you need to take care of yourself, too. Too much going on! Sorry, guys. Alright, we're just gonna leave those cats be, and we're gonna focus on getting some food right now, because Stonepaw has gone out on his own. And I think his mentor may have just noticed that, though. And I think that we're actually going to send Nightfrost over here as well. Because Nightfrost is going to be very worried about where her apprentice just ran off to. Alright, so Stonepaw, we're going to allow Slate to collect 1, 2, 3. And then we'll send Stonepaw over here. And I think Nightfrost would have just noticed my apprentice is missing. And Nightfrost, even though she's been not feeling her best lately, and you guys are going to be finding out why fairly soon, she would still try to take care of Stonepaw, especially at night, because she is pretty good at exploring at night and hunting at night. So he's going to stalk for some prey over here. Well, actually, let's see. 1, 2, 3. We'll have him mark 2. Mark Slate. Oh, he wants to give a gift to Slate. That's adorable. Sweet. And we're finding some rare stuff. So hopefully that'll be pretty good. There we go. And poor Nightfrost has fleas. So I think they'll do some hunting over here. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Alright, Nightfrost made it safe. Yep, no monsters. Good. Monsters are like a 50-50 chance of dying if the cat accidentally gets hit by one. There we go. I think Nightfrost would be very relieved to have stumbled on Stonepaw over here. Wonderful. And yeah, we're just getting to that point again, you guys, where each episode I might start focusing like on 1 or 2 specific cats because it's getting a little bit kooky with everything that's going on. All right, eat the food. I think she would come over and maybe socialize and sniff to see what's going on. And Stonepaw will just explain that he was looking for stones because They both know that everybody in the clan can be fed very easily if they feed stones to Slate, and then they can get the stones turned into fish that way. All right. Oh no, look at this, you guys. Branch Star and Crowfeather are no longer friends. I think that answers the question of what would happen. Look at this empty, not a single piece of prey anywhere. I think that answers the question of what happens if a certain Miss Sea Whisper here would ask Crowfeather for help with fishing for them. I really do. And then Otterslip also can't do any fishing because she is actually expecting. And Sea Whisper just got the non-destructive trait, which is kind of adorable. All right, and then let's go back over. And these two are just going to socialize for another moment. Oh, and he wants to play with another pet. All right, we're going to drop Sniff Quail Eye and Sniff Dogaze. And he wants to socialize with Misty Pond. That's interesting. And we'll let these two kind of play together. So this is their training. Night Frost will just say, okay, we'll do some training. And then we're going to send Slate back over here. So he's going to resume his fishing now that Stonepaw has collected some stones for him, because it is extremely unusual to actually run out of fish in Branch Clan because of having Slate and because any stones they collect, it takes a while for the stones to show up again, but any stones they collect end up being turned into fish. So we have, let's see, it looks about 200. So that's like 1, 2, 3. Trying to remember. Yeah. If I round up, let's see, 1, and then, yeah. So we'll say that's worth 3 fish. I had to figure it out again because we say like anything under 100, like this is worth 1 fish, and anything like this would be worth 7. Let's just go with 2. We're just going to go with 2. So like anything, you only get another second fish if it's over 200. Like this is 223. So that means we have 2 fish on the way. So 2 fine sharks being put down for Branch Clan right now. Here's a piece of turquoise. It is only worth 65. So that means we have 1 fish being put down. Now this piece of iron worth 13. That means let's see if we can pick like a tiny fish. Do I have like, here's an anchovy. Oh, that'd be kind of cute to like associate the different things that way. All right, the different rocks and their worth are associated with the different rocks being associated with different fish. You guys, talk about an epiphany. What do you think about that? We should make that happen, huh? Different rocks being associated with different fish, and Slate has to have that fish for something to happen. I think that would be a pretty interesting deal. And there we go, a whole bunch of fish, so they should be taken care of for now. And Miss Nightfrost is having a good time over here with her apprentice. I think she's actually bonded pretty well. Yeah, she's actually bonded really, 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 really well with Stonepaw. So she probably doesn't want to see Stonepaw hurt in any way. But, you know, I mean, whatever Bearglow's plans are might come first. All right. Oh, look at them, you guys. Isn't that so awesome? Stonepaw and Nightfrost spending time like that. And Branch Star just found a rat. You know what that means? He's curing his own fleas. So he's going to cure his own fleas after he gets something to eat. That's totally what's going to happen right there. And Sea Whisper, I think, is going to go ahead and nuzzle Crowfeather here. Crowfeather, you got to stay awake for this, buddy. Oh, and the kits are playing! So Shellkit's starting to feel a little better. Oh no, he's not going to cure his own fleas. He's going to use it to give to his son. Alright, so we'll give it to Shellkit. So Shellkit can kind of have a bit of a boost on his health and have the modifier that increases his risks for bad illnesses disappear. Alright, let's come over. Crowfeather, and it looks like Otterslip is very concerned with her pregnancy. She's trying to take good care of it. And she wants to socialize with Crowfeather. Where's Dawnstep? Dawnstep's snoozing. Dawnstep's kind of being a bit reclusive, and Misty Pond is hanging out with Dawnstep and off to scratch things. So she still wants to give that gift to Dawnstep too, which is interesting. All right, let's come over. There we go. Aww. There we go, Crowfeather. And he wants to go ahead and groom, so we're going to let him go ahead and groom Sea Whisper. She's doing okay. And then Sea Whisper is going to talk to him and be like, do you think you can contribute some fish? And well, he just lost his friendship with Briarstock because it's been so long. And I think that he would decide that he would do fishing for Branch Clan tonight because Sea Whisper asked for the help. So things are getting a little bit interesting there too. All right, Branch Star, hurry up and finish off that fish. Instead of curing your fleas with that rat, and too bad Trout Shadow can't give the Wom rat If he spoke, in fact, I think maybe Branch Star is like muttering to himself about that. So Trout Shadow, get over here. Get over here. And Branch Star is trying to groom himself because he wants to get rid of the fleas. So I think that Trout Shadow would just be like innocently walking up and being like, wow, that's a bad case of fleas, Branch Star. Hey, I've got this wombat. Do you want to use it to get rid of your fleas? Because one rodent gets rid of a cat's case of fleas. And I think that that would make Branch Star very, very happy. So we're going to go ahead and give Branch Star the wombat. And we're going to go ahead and have it result in a boost in his relationship with Trout Shadow, which is like almost non-existent. But we're going to go ahead and, can I just gently, there we go. Just a nice little boost. So now he's closer to Trout Shadow. And Trout Shadow apparently maybe he's a former kitty pet. Maybe that's why he's kind of all over the place. And he left because he's a tomcat chasing down girls. And then, yeah, okay, so that boosts the relationship both ways. Noted. And I think that would have given him a little bit of a boost. And then Branch Star is going to use, he's going to use the Womrat because it's a little older to get rid of his fleece. And then we can go ahead and after he's done talking to Trout Shadow, take care of Shellkit. There's so much to keep track of all the time. It can be a little overwhelming. But we got this. We got this, you guys. All right, and what's going on over here? Run around. What? And you got fleas too. That's what you get for playing with Night Frost. Now you two can stalk for some prey, because you do need to do some training over here, Mr. Apprentice, sir. All right, and Night Frost, she loves spiders. That is definitely her favorite food. So she's trying to catch some spiders over here. And we'll have her pee in just a second here. Come on, Night Frost. Come on. All right, and then no, you were supposed to catch those. Here, catch this. No, pee. We'll catch pee and then stalk for prey. And we'll have her do like a few more stalks for prey with Stonepaw over here, so they should be good. They're hunting over at the temple area, and there's plenty of food, so that's good. Sea Whisper is taking care of herself. Dawnstep is taking care of herself. Otterslip's taking care of herself. There's so many queens. I have to make sure they're all okay. And Branch Star is going to take care of his son, Shellkit. So he's going to come over. Shellkit's already running around because he's a little bit rambunctious. And Branch Star is, come here, Branch Star. Branch Star is going to sniff, and he's going to nuzzle, and he's going to socialize, and he's going to nuzzle again. And I think Bear Glow may actually need to be the one to come over and like give Shellkit a good hard sniff and make sure that he's actually like cured with the Womrat. So we'll give the Womrat, or excuse me, the rat to Bear Glow in just a minute. Oh, and Wildpaw's coming over. Hey, Wildpaw. Apparently you're stinky. I don't know what to do about that. Moonpaw, are you really going to follow Wildpaw around? That never ends well. All right. Bear Glow is getting some food. Thank goodness for Slate, Holy Days, and Stonepaw just caught a bird. Sweet. And Night Frost caught her spider, which is going to make her super, super happy. All right, so Bear Glow, you go ahead and take care of your needs, and we're going to drag, and we'll have to have Branch Star give the rat to Bear Glow and then cure Shellkit. It's kind of convoluted having to chase the cats down like that, but it works out, especially for plots if you don't move fast enough. All right, everything going okay, Shellkit? I'm really glad that your father loves you so much. Yep. Your father, he loves you a lot. All right, and then where's Dawnstep when it comes to her kids? Oh, she's off to go groom. She's like, Wildpaw, I'm so worried about you. And she actually wants to catch a rodent. Oh, we could say she wants to catch a rodent to try to take care of Shellkit. So she seems to be slowly emerging from the deep sense of sadness and depression that she's been in ever since Shellkit and Sandkit were born. I wonder why she was so sad about that. All right, and Branch Star, you doing good? Okay, good. He's done well. We'll have him pee here. And then he'll go and talk to Bear Glow. I think Bear Glow is getting really annoyed by all of these fleas. He is not pleased with all of the fleas. So he needs to gather up more sea sludge. So he'll probably collect that rock in a little bit. And I hope Sea Whisper goes okay. Oh, but that's right. We do have to have... You know what? I think... Hey, you. Get to fishing. I think that Crowfeather... Ever since being asked by Crowfeather, ever since being asked by Sea Whisper, would definitely come over and do a little bit of hunting for the clan. So any fish he catches until he chooses to stay or go back to Moss Clan, any fish he catches after this, I think he would leave here at at Branch Clan, because he would see their problems as the most immediate thing that needed dealt with. And Sea Whisper herself asked for his help, and she didn't really explain why she needed his help. She's only had 2 of those fairy damselfish, and we don't have any more fairy damselfish. So if she has more than 2 kits, then 1 kit is not going to survive. Or then those kits born after the first 2 are not going to survive. And that's a big deal. All right, Moonpaw's taking a little nap. Dawnstep's happy to be taking care of her kid. She wants to scratch on the kitty condo too. So we'll have her do that. Scratch, scratch. And I think Branch Star. All right, where's Branch? Okay, you come over here. You know what? I'm just going to give, there we go. Because Branch Star's already talked with him today. There you go, Bear Glow. Now go take care of Shellkit. And then I think that Branch Star is going to come over, friendly, nuzzle, and socialize with Moonpaw. Because he does mean to train his apprentice every now and then. And yes, a lot of you guys have been asking for more patrols. There's just so much going on, but we will try to get more patrols up and going soon. Alright, I think he would offer to do a little bit of training. Stonepaw is apparently really good at catching birds, by the way. He would offer to do a little bit of training today. So, I think that Moonpaw got so excited she peed. So we'll leave that. And then Bear Glow, we're going to have you go over and talk to Shellkit, who's just running around. He is a very hyper little guy. It's like he didn't learn his lesson at all. Alright, we'll have him sniff Shellkit. And then we'll say that Shellkit doesn't have anything to worry about now. He should be fine. Alright, though I would be worried. Where is he? There we go. Alright. There you go, little guy. Can I put a rat in your inventory? There we go. So you're going to eat it and become nice, big, and strong. You're going to have a little recover, so be good and go play. And Bear Glow is done talking to you now. He's done with you, child. Alright, and we caught an alley catfish. So yeah, anything that I think he catches now, I think that Crowfeather would start leaving here. And I think he's going to be really confused and conflicted about that too. Alright, so I think that's everybody now. Man, a lot of things going on. Nightfrost is catching some beetles and doing well off in the distance and over in this temple area. I think Bear Glow is going to absolutely lose it because he wants to get rid of the fleas that have shown up yet again. He's trying to groom Wildpaw. I'm going to say that's probably because he's a medicine cat and he's trying to do his duty as a medicine cat. But he's also going to show up and start collecting up all of these rocks because he wants to get some sea sludge. And that's one of the ways he can get sea sludge from Slate. That's one of the only times he's allowed to access Slate's inventory. Is for sea sludge. But we'll have to think about that new idea of rocks having something to do with what type of fish they can trade for. So, wow, and Misty Pond caught a turtle. So go Misty Pond. And a robot fish. Well, to be honest, I'm not really sure what Branch Clan would do with a robot fish. So we'll go ahead and we'll let him keep that one. Alright, and perfect sea sludge. So we're catching enough. Maybe we should do a trade with Bear Glow if he has like something else we can trade for sea sludge. In fact, maybe that's how we'll do it. Maybe instead of having to gather the rocks up to trade, we could trade sea sludge for, like an animal that Bear Glow could collect or a plant he could collect or something. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about me, you guys. I'm just like rambling as we try to figure all of these plots out and kind of keeping an eye on the many queens who are expecting kits any second now. I have no idea when they're going to start showing up, but they are going to start showing up pretty soon. Everybody apparently wants to groom Wildpaw. Apparently she's super stinky and it's putting a damper on everyone's moods. So Otterslip is coming out to groom her and take good care of her. I think Bear Glow just noticed that Misty Pond has fleas and he's going to be quite irritated. In fact, I think... Oh, look! Pygmy Hedgehog! Pygmy Hedgehog! Groom your sister, Bear Glow. Groom your sister and cure her of those fleas. Get rid of the Pygmy Hedgehog. I can't believe he was holding on to it when the kit was sick. So I wonder if he was kind of just dragging his feet on helping to cure Shellkit. But there we are. Good big brother. Good big brother, take care of your very questionable sister. And meanwhile, Stonepaw's training is going really well with Nightfrost. I wonder how that's going to make Wildpaw feel when she realizes that her skills are so much weaker than her brother's now that her body is quite a bit weaker too. Alright, you guys, it's been a long time in coming. Hopefully I'll have the next episode up soon. It's just a lot to handle when you're trying to juggle so many different plots. I get a little overwhelmed and a little excited, but we'll do pretty good. And if Crowfeather has more energy in him, then he might do some more fishing. He just doesn't understand why it's such a desperate thing that he might go fishing, and why Sea Whisperer might get a little bit more stressed as the days go by and put a little bit more pressure on him, especially when he might leave any minute now to try to get more fairy damselfish. So we'll have to see what happens, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.